The night sky above Earth was calm, full of stars. People on the ground did not know that far beyond those stars, voices of hatred were rising. In the chambers of the Galactic Council, whispers spread like fire. Whispers about humanity. Whispers about war. For centuries, the Council had ruled the galaxy like priests of an ancient temple. They believed their laws were holy, their word was sacred. They spoke of light, peace, and purity, but in truth they feared anything that did not bow to them. And nothing bowed less than humanity. Humans were young compared to the ancient species. They had no place in the high ranks of the Council. Yet within 2 short centuries, Earth had built ships that moved faster than light. They had colonized cold moons, burning starsides, and empty rocks. Wherever humans went, they survived. Wherever they stepped, they left fire and steel. The elders of the Council called them dangerous, too wild, too stubborn, too free. And so, one voice in the chamber rose above the rest. The voice of the Zethari priests, who believed their gods demanded purity. They do not follow the sacred path. The priest said, his voice echoing in the hall. They mock the holy order. They spread their own will across the stars. If they cannot be guided, they must be destroyed. This is not a war of conquest. This is a holy war. A war to save the galaxy from corruption. The council chamber fell silent. Then, slowly, one by one, voices joined. Some joined out of fear, others out of jealousy. But soon the chant filled the room like thunder. Holy war, holy war, holy war. And so, the decision was made. Humanity would not be spoken to. Humanity would not be warned. Humanity would be erased. The first fleet moved without sound. Thousands of ships, black as night, crossed the void. They did not announce themselves. They did not send words of peace. Instead, they targeted the farthest human colonies' quiet outposts at the edge of the galaxy. Where families worked and slept without knowing that death was coming, the attack was swift. Human settlers woke to the scream of alarms. Fire rained from the skies. Children were dragged into shelters. Mothers shouted prayers. Fathers grabbed weapons that meant nothing against ships the size of cities. In one night, 3 colonies were turned to ash. No survivors. The council priests called it holy cleansing. They expected humanity to beg for mercy, to kneel before their gods. But Earth heard the silence of its lost colonies. Earth saw only smoke where its people had once lived, and humanity did not kneel. In the deep halls of Earth Command, leaders gathered. They were not saints, not priests, not gods. They were soldiers, engineers, and survivors. They looked at the burning maps of lost colonies, and their voices carried no fear. They want holy war? One general said, his eyes cold as steel, and let us show them the demons they woke. From the shadows of Earth's defense, black projects were revealed. Weapons the Council had never seen. Warships built not for exploration, but for survival. Soldiers trained not to conquer, but to endure the impossible. Humanity did not see war as holy. To them, war was survival. War was fire in the blood. War was a demon that lived inside every man and woman when their children were threatened. As the second wave of the Holy Fleet approached, something unexpected happened. For the first time in history, every human nation, every human faction, stood as one. Old enemies shook hands. Flags that had once divided now burned together under one symbol, the survival of Earth. Across the galaxy, whispers changed. Alien traders who once mocked humans now watched in silence. Old enemies of the Council leaned closer, curious. The war that was supposed to erase a young species had awoken something else, something ancient inside them. And when the first human counterattack struck, the galaxy trembled. The Holy Fleet entered the orbit of Titan, prepared to burn another colony to ash. But this time, the darkness of space moved. A wall of human warships emerged from the void, their hulls black, their weapons glowing with fury. The aliens expected fear, and what they found was silence. Cold human silence. Then the first human voice broke through the calm but sharp as a blade. "You wanted a holy war," the voice said. "You'll have one. But it will not be holy. It will be hell." The first human salvo ripped through the fleet.
Ow!
The holy warriors screamed prayers to their gods. But prayers could not stop human missiles, human steel, human rage. Ships cracked. Open like eggs, fire lit the void. For every human colony destroyed, 10 alien ships fell. The galaxy watched in shock. The council priests whispered of demons, of monsters, of shadows born in human blood. They had expected victims. Instead, they had summoned something far worse. The holy war had begun. But the galaxy would learn soon, when you fight humanity, you do not meet saints or martyrs. You meet the demons within. The wreckage of the first holy fleet drifted in silence. Broken ships floated like grave markers around Titan, their fires fading slowly into the cold of space. Humanity had not only survived the first strike, they had answered with fury. But the war was not over, and it had only just begun. Deep inside the council's sacred chambers, the priests trembled with rage. Never in their long history had their holy fleets been crushed so quickly, so brutally. Their warriors had died shouting prayers, but their gods had not saved them. And now whispers of fear spread even among their allies. Humans fight like no other, one elder admitted. They do not beg, they do not surrender. They become the very terror we fear. But the Zethari priests refused to accept defeat. It was only the first battle, they declared, their voices shaking but loud. The demons of Earth will be purged. We will summon every fleet, every holy warrior, until their world is dust. And so, the call went out across the stars. A crusade. A holy war unlike any before. Entire civilizations were ordered to send ships, soldiers, weapons. To refuse was to defy the will of the gods, and none dared refuse. The galaxy turned its eyes to Earth, waiting to see if this small, young species could endure the storm that was coming, on Earth itself. The mood was grim but unbroken. Families who had lost colonies wept, but they also built. Factories roared day and night, turning steel into warships. Old military bunkers, silent for decades, opened their doors once more. Scientists worked in secret labs, unlocking projects too dangerous for peacetime, and in the dark, soldiers trained. Men and women from every land stood side by side there. Faces hard, their voices steady. They were not fighting for conquest. They were fighting for survival. The enemy called it holy war. Humanity called it vengeance. Captain Alina Markov stood at the center of the war council. She had been there during the first strike, watching Titan burn. Now her eyes carried no softness, only fire. "They believe we will break," she said. "They believe their gods make them strong. But their gods will not fight for them. We will fight. And we will show them what it means when humanity unites." Around her, generals and leaders nodded. For the first time in history, Earth's governments no longer argued. There were no politics, no rivalries, no borders. Only one cause. One war. One enemy. Meanwhile, out in the void, the second Holy Fleet gathered. It was larger, deadlier, and full of rage. Millions of warriors prepared themselves, chanting prayers, painting symbols of purity on their armor. Their priests promised them glory. They promised that Earth would fall screaming, but the Holy Fleet did not know that humanity was ready. The first clash came at the edge of the Sol system. Human scouts detected the Holy Fleet before it arrived. Like the first time, humanity was no longer blind. Now they were hunters waiting in the dark. From the black of space, human warships slipped into position. Their hulls carried no bright lights, no markings, only shadows. They moved like predators in silence, their engines cold, their weapons hidden. When the Holy Fleet entered, chanting their war hymns, the trap closed. Explosions tore through the void as hidden mines ignited. Human ships struck from behind asteroids, from within gas clouds, from the very darkness of space itself. Missiles streaked like fire, railguns thundered like storms. and human soldiers boarded alien ships with blades and guns tearing through them in close combat. The holy warriors had come expecting battle. What they found was slaughter. For every human ship destroyed, 5 alien ships fell. For every human soldier lost, entire squads of holy warriors were silenced. The aliens cried out to their gods, but in the void, their prayers met only the sound of human weapons, and as the second fleet burned, the galaxy shuddered. Across distant worlds, whispers grew louder. Traitors, smugglers, even council allies spoke in secret. The humans, they are not fighting like men, they are fighting like demons. The priests, furious, declared this was proof of humanity's corruption. But others began to wonder if, perhaps the gods had chosen wrongly. For if this was corruption, then it was stronger than holiness itself. Back on Earth, the names of the fallen were spoken, honored, remembered. Humanity mourned, but they did not stop. Factories built more, ships launched faster. The war machine grew stronger every day, and deep inside hidden bunkers, darker projects awoke. Weapons too terrible to reveal unless the galaxy pushed them. Further, the holy war was far from over. The priests had sworn to erase humanity. But with every strike, with every colony burned, they had awoken something they could not control. They had not found victims. They had not found heretics. They had found the demons within humanity, and the demons were only beginning to rise. The second Holy Fleet was gone, shattered, burned, lost to the dark. What the Council had called a holy crusade had turned into a nightmare they could not understand. The priests tried to hide the truth. They told their people the battle was still, glorious, that their warriors had ascended to the gods. But lies could not cover wreckage. Thousands of ships had vanished. Millions of soldiers had not returned. And now, cracks began to spread through the Holy Alliance. Humans do not fight like mortals. One alien commander whispered in secret, "They fight like something else, something cursed." But while the Council trembled, humanity prepared for the next storm. On Earth, the skies thundered with launches. New ships rose every hour, sleek and dark. Factories worked without sleep, turning cities into engines of war. The people no longer asked why. They already knew. Their families had burned. Their colonies had fallen. Now there was only one question. How far would they go to survive? In hidden training grounds, soldiers sharpened their skills. They fought in zero gravity, in burning deserts, in frozen tunnels. They trained with knives, rifles, and weapons to advance to be named. They were taught not just to kill but to terrify. Fear is a weapon, one commander told them, and our enemy has never known fear. We will teach it to them. Captain Elena Markov watched her soldiers with cold pride. She had lost her brother in the first attacks. Now she fought not for medals or glory, but for revenge. She carried the rage of her people like fire in her chest, far beyond the priests. Called for the Third Holy Fleet. This one was larger than anything before. Armadas from a dozen species joined together, forced by faith and fear. Their ships blotted out the stars, a tide of metal and fire. Their leaders promised this time would be different. This time the demons of Earth would burn. The galaxy held its breath. When the Holy Fleet moved, even neutral species fled there. Systems, whole sectors of space emptied, fearing the clash that was coming. Smugglers, traitors, and wanderers whispered across the void. The humans are waiting. The humans are ready. And humanity was ready. At the edge of Council space, the Third Fleet entered a human trap, but it was not like before. This was no hidden ambush. This was open war. Human warships roared forward like a storm. Their hulls scarred from past battles, their weapons glowing with fury. Drones swarmed from their bays, thousands of machines screaming into the void. Missiles split apart into smaller missiles. Guns fired until the dark itself seemed to crack. The Holy Fleet answered with rage. Alien ships unleashed burning lances of energy, shields flashing like suns. Warriors boarded human vessels, shouting prayers as they clashed in bloody combat. The void became a graveyard of steel and fire. For hours, the battle raged. Humanity did not retreat. They did not falter. Even as ships burned, even as soldiers fell, they pressed forward. Every loss only sharpened their fury. Every death only made them fight harder. The aliens began to understand. This was not just war. This was survival. This was humanity unchained. On the bridge of her flagship, Captain Markov's voice cut through the chaos. They call this holy. Let them see what hell looks like. Her words echoed across the combs. Human ships struck deeper, harder, faster. A massive alien cruiser broke apart under the fire of a single human dreadnought. Boarding parties cut through decks like shadows, leaving silence where prayers once filled the air. And then came the weapon the Council had never seen. From the heart of the human fleet, a dark shape emerged. A ship larger than any before built. In secret, deep beneath Earth's oceans. Its hull was black, covered in strange armor. No name, no markings, only death. The aliens screamed warnings, but it was too late. The ship opened fire. Its weapon was not light, not missile, not gunfire. It was something worse, something that tore through shields and armor as if they were paper. Alien ships simply split apart, vanishing into debris. Silence fell across the battle as both sides realized what had been unleashed. The Holy Fleet panicked. Some fought on, others broke formation, fleeing. But humanity did not chase. Humanity simply advanced, slow and steady, like a predator that had tasted blood. When the battle ended, space was littered with broken alien ships. The Third Holy Fleet, the pride of the priests, was gone. Across the galaxy the whispers grew. Louder, the humans cannot be stopped. The humans are demons. The Council has awakened something it cannot control. Back on Earth, people celebrated, but their leaders did not. They knew the truth. The priests would not stop. They would send more. They would not rest until Earth was Ashdod, and humanity would not stop either. The Holy War had become something darker. It was no longer about survival. It was no longer about defense. It was about showing the galaxy what happened when humanity was pushed too far, and soon everyone would learn. The galaxy no longer looked at humanity with curiosity. Now it looked with fear. 3 holy fleets had fallen. Armadas that were meant to erase Earth were nothing but wreckage in the void. The priests had sworn that faith would shield them, but faith had shattered against human steel. And yet the priests would not admit defeat. In their temples they screamed louder. In their chambers they called for more blood. This is not the end, the Zethri priest declared. This is the beginning. Humanity is cursed, and curses must be burned away. But whispers spread through their followers. For every holy soldier that marched, 10 voices in the dark asked, what if the humans are not cursed? What if they are chosen? On Earth, no one asked such questions. Humanity had already answered. They did not see themselves as chosen, nor as cursed. They saw themselves as survivors. Survival demanded more. The factories did not stop. Machine grew larger. New weapons were forged, each more brutal than the last. Ships bristled with guns that could tear a fleet apart in minutes. Entire moons were turned into hidden bases, waiting for the day they would rise as fortresses. But even as the war machine grew, humanity changed. Soldiers became harder, colder. Civilians learned to fight, to build, to endure. Children grew up with the sound of war in their ears. The Holy War was shaping them into something the galaxy had never seen before. Captain Elena Markov saw it too. She looked at her soldiers, at her people, and knew there was no turning back. The priests wanted demons, she said quietly to her crew. And now, that is what we must become. Far beyond, the Council prepared its 4th Holy Fleet. This one was larger than all before, not just in numbers but in unity. Dozens of species, forced by fear and faith, joined together. Their ships filled entire systems. Their warriors chanted endless prayers. They promised this would not be like before. This time, they would burn Earth to the ground. But humanity did not wait. For the first time, Earth's leaders gave anew. Order! Strike back! Do not wait for the Holy Fleet to come. Do not hide in defense. Carry the war to their sacred space. The galaxy gasped when human warships crossed the border into Council territory. No young species had ever dared such a thing. Yet here they were, fleets of black ships moving with silence and fire. Their first target was not a battlefield. It was a temple world. The Zethari priests had long declared it holy, untouchable. Its surface glowed with shrines, towers, and palaces of faith. It was the heart of the crusade, the source of endless prayers. No enemy had ever dared to touch it until now. Human ships fell upon the temple world like shadows. They did not waste time with speeches. They did not ask for surrender. They struck with missiles, bombs, and fire. Towers of faith crumbled. Shrines turned to ash. The sky itself burned red. The priests screamed to their gods, but no god came. Only human soldiers armored in black, storming their holy halls with cold eyes. One soldier carved words into the broken stone of the Grand Temple, words that would echo across the galaxy. You brought this war to us. Now we bring it to you. The temple world fell in a single night. The shock was greater than any battle before. For the first time, the council saw not only that humans could fight, but that they could strike back. The priests called them monsters, demons, shadows and flesh. But others began to whisper a different word, inevitable. If humanity could reach the temple world, then nowhere was safe. The Fourth Holy Fleet, prepared to march on Earth, suddenly turned. They rushed back to defend their sacred lands. But when they arrived, they found nothing left but ruins and silence. Humanity had already gone. The priests screamed for revenge. Fear had already taken root. Their soldiers no longer marched with certainty. Their allies no longer trusted their faith. And across the galaxy, more and more voices began to whisper. Perhaps it is not the humans who are cursed. Perhaps it is us. Perhaps our gods have lead. Back on Earth, Captain Markov stood on her flagship, looking at the stars. Her voice was steady, cold, unshaken. They thought we would break, but they were wrong. They thought we would kneel, but we will never kneel. And now, they will learn what war truly means. The Holy War was changing. It was no longer only a fight for survival. Now it was a fire spreading across the galaxy. Fire humanity would not stop until every enemy either surrendered or burned. And the galaxy knew this was only the beginning of the demons within. The temple world still burned. Its ashes drifted in silence, a wound in the heart of the council. For centuries, the priests had told their people that their shrines were eternal, untouchable, holy. But humanity had shattered that illusion. In a single night, the galaxy trembled, all across the stars. People asked the same question. If the humans can strike the heart of faith, what else can they do? The priests screamed for vengeance. They swore their gods demanded fire and blood. They called every ally to send more ships, more soldiers, more faith. But something was different now. For the first time, not every voice obeyed. Some allies hesitated. Some whispered in the dark that perhaps the priests were wrong. Still, the Fourth Holy Fleet was vast. Millions of warriors, thousands of ships, banners of faith stretched across the void. They gathered not only for war, but for revenge. On Earth, humanity prepared to meet them. But this time, their strategy had changed. They no longer thought only of defense. Now they thought of breaking the council itself. Captain Alina Markov stood at the war table. Holograms of star systems glowed before her. Her officers watched in silence as she traced a line across enemy space. They believe we will meet them. Hidan, she said, her voice low but steady. They believe we will fight as they do, but we are not them. We are not holy. We are not pure. We are something else. We are survivors. And survivors fight differently. Her plan was simple and brutal. Instead of striking the Fourth Fleet directly, humanity would bleed it, cut its supply lines, destroy its fuel stations, break its will before it could ever reach Earth. And so the Shadow War began. Human ships slipped into Council territory like Knives in the dark. Convoys of food, fuel, and weapons vanished without a trace. Communication hubs went silent, their signals replaced by human broadcasts. Outposts woke to fire raining from the sky, only to find no enemy left behind. The Fourth Holy Fleet began to starve before it could even march. The priests grew desperate. They shouted that faith alone would sustain them. But hungry soldiers do not fight with strength, and starving fleets do not fly far. Doubt spread faster than fire. Meanwhile, humanity struck deeper. They attacked not only supply lines, but the very worlds that supported the Council. On one mining world, entire cities were turned to rubble in minutes. On another, human soldiers landed in the night, seized control, and then vanished, leaving behind only burning ruins and carved words. You started this war. We will finish it. Every strike carried a message. Every attack spread fear. Across the galaxy, voices began to rise. Some alien leaders, once loyal to the priests, now demanded answers. You told us humans were weak. You told us they would break. But it is us who are bleeding. It is us who are dying. Where are your gods now? The priests answered with fury. They called these voices traitors, heretics, cowards. But deep inside, even they began to tremble, for the first time. They wondered if their gods had abandoned them. The Fourth Holy Fleet finally moved, but it was no longer the unstoppable tide it had been promised to be. It was weaker, slower, scattered by fear. And humanity was waiting. At the edge of a nameless system, the two forces clashed. Human ships struck like wolves, darting in and out, tearing apart the fleet piece by piece. The holy warriors tried to hold formation, but hunger, fear, and exhaustion broke their will. The battle was not a storm. It was not fire. It was a slow, cold killing. One by one, alien ships fell silent. One by one, their prayers ended in screams. And when the battle was over, the Fourth Holy Fleet no longer existed. Humanity had destroyed it without mercy. The galaxy was silent in the council chambers. The priests shouted until their voices broke. They called for more fleets, more faith, more war. But their words no longer carried the same weight. Too many had seen the truth. Too many had lost everything. Whispers turned to open voices. Some species began to refuse the call. Others began to talk of peace. And still others began to wonder if perhaps humanity was not the enemy, but the future. Back on Earth, people cheered, but their leaders did not. Captain Markov stood on her flagship, her eyes cold. They will not stop, she said, not until we tear their council apart. If they want holy war, then we will show them what true war is. And so, the decision was made. Humanity would not wait for the priests to send more fleets. Humanity would carry the war straight to the heart of the council itself. The galaxy had started this war to erase Earth. Now Earth would end it. And the demons within humanity would not rest until the council lay in ruins. The Fourth Holy Fleet was gone. Its wreckage drifted in silence, scattered across forgotten stars. Humanity had not only survived, it had broken the crusade again and again. The galaxy was no longer united in faith. It was divided in fear. Some species still obeyed the priests, their voices shaking but loyal. Others refused to send more ships, afraid to waste their soldiers in a war they could not win. A few dared to whisper of peace. But the Zethri priests, the ones who had begun the holy war, refused to surrender in their great temple. The high priest stood before the council, his eyes burning with madness. "We cannot stop now," he shouted. "If we retreat, if we bend, then all we have built will fall. Humanity is a curse. Humanity is rot. So they must be destroyed, even if it takes the blood of every world we rule." But behind closed doors, many elders trembled, for they had seen the truth. Humanity did not break. Humanity grew stronger with every battle, and now humanity was coming. For the first time, Earth no longer waited for the holy fleets to strike. Human warships crossed deep into council space. Not as raiders, not as shadows, but as conquerors. Captain Elena Markov led the largest human fleet ever assembled. Her ships moved like a black tide, silent and cold, but unstoppable. They did not aim for weak outposts anymore. This time they struck at the council's heart. World after world fell. Human fleets attacked shipyards, burning vessels before they were finished. They stormed fortress planets, smashing defenses that had stood for centuries. Cities that had once chanted prayers now screamed in terror as human banners appeared above them. The galaxy watched in silence. For centuries, the Council had been the untouchable power, the voice of gods. Now their temples were burning, and the demons of Earth were standing on their ruins. On the flagship Iron Will, Captain Markov gave no speeches of mercy. She had lost too much to mercy. They wanted a holy war, she told her officers. Let every world they rule feel the same fire they brought to us. The campaign was ruthless. Humans fought not to conquer, but to break. They destroyed fuel lines, shattered communication webs, left messages carved in steel and stone. You cannot kill what refuses to die. And still the priests screamed for more. The council forced weaker species to send their fleets, threatening them with punishment. If they refused, but many no longer feared the priests, they feared the humans more. In hidden chambers, alien leaders met in secret. If the council falls, who will lead the galaxy? One asked. Another answered, his voice low. Perhaps the humans already do. But humanity was not seeking crowns. Humanity was seeking vengeance. The turning point came at the Battle of Raylan Prime, a massive world where the Council kept one of its greatest fortresses. Its defenses stretched across the skies, a wall of guns and ships. The priests declared no enemy could ever breach it. Humanity did not breach it. Humanity destroyed it. For 3 days, the battle raged. Human fleets crashed into the fortress again, and again, refusing to retreat. Soldiers boarded alien stations, fighting in corridors choked with smoke and blood. Whole sections of the fortress burned, and still the humans pressed forward. On the 3rd day, the black warship, the secret human, Dreadnought arrived. Its weapon cut through the fortress like a blade through paper. Towers crumbled, ships exploded, shields shattered. By nightfall, Raylan Prime was gone. The galaxy shivered. Raylan had been a symbol of eternal strength. Now it was Ashdot in the council. Chamber. Silence ruled. For the first time, the priests had no chant, no prayer, no words. Their armies were dying, their temples falling, their fleets shattered. And still the humans advanced. They are not demons, one elder whispered at last. They are not cursed. They are something worse. They are inevitable. The high priest slammed his staff against the floor, his eyes burning. No, they are shadows. They are lies. We will burn them, even if it takes our last breath. Even as he shouted, fear spread. The council was no longer unbroken. Some members wanted surrender. Some wanted peace. Some wanted to betray the priests themselves to save their own people. Humanity had done more than survive. Humanity had torn the galaxy apart. On her flagship, Captain Markov stood alone at the viewport, staring at the stars. Her face was calm, but her voice carried the weight of fire. They thought they could erase us, she said softly, but now we will erase them. The Holy War had begun as the galaxy's judgment against Earth, but in the end, it would be Earth's judgment. Against the galaxy, and the demons within humanity were only growing stronger. The galaxy was no longer the same. What began as a holy war had become something else. A storm, a fire, a darkness spreading from Earth and swallowing everything in its path. Humanity no longer fought to survive. Humanity fought to end. Council. Space was burning. World after world fell to human fleets. Fortress systems crumbled. Supply lines vanished. Entire planets once loyal to the priests now stood silent. Their banners of faith torn down and replaced with nothing but Ashdot, and now the humans were coming for the heart. The Council's capital world, Jodar, had never been touched by war. Its skies were filled with golden towers, its surface alive with temples and palaces. For thousands of years it had stood as the center of faith, the seat of power, the voice of gods. The priests had sworn it could never fall. But as the black human fleets crossed into its system, even the priests began to tremble. From orbit, the human armada looked endless. Thousands of ships, dark and cold, moved with perfect silence. No banners, no prayers, only the promise of destruction. Inside the council chamber, chaos ruled. Elders shouted over one another, demanding defense, demanding surrender, demanding answers. Some still believed the gods would save them. Others whispered that perhaps the gods had already abandoned them. The high priest struck his staff against the floor, his voice breaking through the noise. Silence. We are chosen. We're holy. The humans are shadows, and shadows vanish before. The light gather every ship, every weapon, every soldier. Jodar will not fall. But even as he spoke, fear showed in his eyes. Humanity did not wait for speeches. The first bombardment fell upon Jodar like thunder. Missiles and kinetic strikes tore through orbital defenses. Towers crumbled, fire lit the skies, and for the first time in history, the holy capital screamed in terror. Alien fleets rushed to defend the planet, but the humans were relentless. Their ships fought like predators, cutting through defenses with precision and fury. Boarding parties stormed enemy cruisers, silencing them one by one. The black human dreadnought unleashed its weapon again, splitting entire stations apart with a single blast. The priests ordered their soldiers to fight to the last breath. Some obeyed, charging with desperate faith, but many broke as ships fled. Defenses failed. The humans kept coming. On the ground, human dropships landed in waves. Soldiers poured into the holy city itself. The streets that once echoed with prayers now echoed with gunfire. Statues of gods shattered beneath human boots. Temples fell, their sacred walls scorched by fire and smoke. The priests retreated into the grand temple, their last refuge. Inside its golden halls, they prayed louder than ever, begging their gods for deliverance. But the only answer was silence. Captain Alina Markov led the final assault. She marched at the front, her soldiers moving like shadows through the burning temple. Alien guards tried to stop them, but they fell quickly. No prayer, no chant, no scream could slow the human advance. At last, the great doors of the council chamber burst open. The priests stood trembling before the humans, their eyes filled with both rage and terror. "You are demons," the high priest spat, his voice shaking. "You are cursed. You will destroy everything." Captain Markov's gaze was cold, her voice steady as steel. "You wanted a holy war? You wanted to erase us. But you forgot one thing. Humans do not kneel. We do not break. We survive. And when you forced us into the dark, you found the demons you feared." Her words cut deeper than any blade. The high priest raised his staff, as if to call on the gods. But before he could speak, a single human shot rang out. The staff shattered. The high priest fell. The chamber went silent. For the first time in thousands of years, the council had no voice, no gods, no leaders. Only fear. Outside, Jodar burned. The capital of the Holy Crusade was broken, its temples crumbling, its fleets scattered. Humanity stood in its heart, unchallenged, unbroken. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. The council had fallen. The holy war was lost. The humans had done what no one believed possible. But with victory came a question that burned in every mind. What will humanity do now? Would they stop, satisfied with vengeance? Or would the demons within them burn the entire galaxy to ash? On her flagship, Captain Markov looked out at the ruined capital, her face unreadable. "They started this war," she whispered, "but we will decide how it ends." The galaxy waited, silent and trembling, for the war was not yet finished. One final chapter remained, and it would decide not only the fate of humanity, but the fate of every world under the stars. The holy capital of Jodar was ash. Its temples burned, its fleets shattered, its priests silenced. Humanity stood, in the heart of the council, victorious. But victory did not bring peace. Across the galaxy, chaos spread. Some species celebrated, happy to see the council broken. Others wept, fearing what would come next. For if the humans could crush the most powerful empire in the galaxy, then who could ever stop them? The question echoed everywhere. What will humanity do now? On Earth, the people mourned their dead, but their eyes burned with fire. They remembered the first colonies destroyed, the families lost, the voices silenced in the name of a holy war. They did not forget. They would never forget. Captain Alina Markov stood before the War Council. Her fleet had conquered the capital. Her soldiers had silenced the priests. But now, the greatest decision lay before them. Do we stop here? One general asked. Or do we carry the war to every world that once followed the priests? Room fell silent. Everyone knew the choice. Humanity could end the war today, leaving the council broken and humiliated. Or humanity could go further, burn the council's allies, erase every trace of the Holy Order, and rise as the galaxy's new rulers. Captain Markov's eyes were cold as steel. They wanted demons, she said, and they got them. But demons do not rule. Demons punish. We came here for survival. We came here for vengeance, not crowns, not thrones. Her words carried across the chamber like fire. Humanity had shown the galaxy its strength, but it would not become the same tyrant it destroyed. Instead, a new order was born. Human fleets withdrew from Jadar, leaving its ruins as a warning. Messages spread across the stars carried by human broadcasts. The war is over. We will not be erased. We will not kneel. If you bring war to Earth again, we will bring hell to you. But if you choose peace, then humanity will not strike. The galaxy trembled at the message. It was not a threat. It was a promise. Many species accepted it at once. They had seen what humans could do. They wanted no part in another war. Even some of the Council's oldest allies abandoned faith and turned to survival. The priests who remained were hunted, their voices silenced, their temples falling one by one. The Holy Crusade was dead and in its ashes. No! A new truth rose. Humanity had changed the galaxy forever. No longer were they the young species, the reckless, explorers, the ones to be guided or mocked. They were something else now, something feared, something respected. In every corner of the galaxy, one saying spread like wildfire: fight humanity, and you will meet the demons within. On her flagship, Captain Markov looked out at the stars. For the first time in years, there was silence. No alarms. No cries. No bombardments. Only the endless void. Her officer stood behind her, waiting. Is it really over? One asked quietly. Markov did not answer at first. She knew the truth. Wars never truly ended. Somewhere, someone would always remember, always hate, always hunger for power. But she also knew something else. Humanity was ready. They thought we would break, she said at last. But we showed them what happens when you push us too far. Let them remember, let them fear, and let them know. We will always survive. The stars stretched before her, endless and bright. Humanity had faced the galaxy's holy war and had not only survived, had triumphed. The priests had called them cursed. The council had called them dangerous. But in the end, they were simply human. And when the galaxy looked into humanity's heart, it saw not saints, not martyrs, but demons. Demons who would never kneel. Demons who would never break. Demons who would survive. The war was over, but the legend of humanity had just begun.